My name is Nate Collins, and I never expected my quiet suburban life to turn into a courtroom showdown with a woman who claimed my mailbox gave her anxiety attacks. But that's exactly what happened. It started on a Tuesday morning, and I remember it because I'd just poured my second cup of coffee when I saw her, Karen, marching across the lawn with a plastic folder tucked under her arm, like she was about to brief the Pentagon. Sunglasses on, hair pulled tight, lipstick like war paint. She didn't knock, she didn't wave. She just glared at me through the kitchen window like I had personally ruined her entire HOA experience. I'd lived in the Willow Pines development for 5 years, paid my dues, trimmed my hedges, even joined the neighborhood gardening group, which unfortunately is how I met Karen 2 years ago. She joined to supervise. Her words, not mine. Since then, she's filed no less than 17 official complaints, 4 of them about my mailbox, not because it was broken or offensive. No, Karen's issue was that I'd decorated it. Solar lights, tiny vines, a seasonal flag depending on the month, Halloween pumpkins, Valentine's hearts, a mini Uncle Sam for the 4th of July, expressive, she wrote in one email, emotionally aggressive in another. It was ridiculous. Until it wasn't. Because one day I got a notice from the HOA stating that a lawsuit had been filed. Not just against me, against the entire board. Karen was suing us, all of us. Her reason: systematic emotional abuse and neglect of neighborhood standards. She was representing herself. The trial was scheduled for a Tuesday morning 3 weeks later, in the downtown civil court building that usually handled things like traffic tickets and small claims. I figured it'd be a short, bizarre waste of time, but when I showed up and saw the crowd outside the courtroom, people from our neighborhood, HOA members, local reporters, I realized Karen had turned this into a spectacle, and she loved every second of it. She wore a navy blue pantsuit that looked 2 sizes too tight, a clipboard in her hand, and she marched through the crowd like she was leading a protest. When we got inside, she requested to begin with a formal reading of her opening defense. The judge, a man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, sighed and nodded. That single quotes is when Karen pulled out a stack of 14 pages, 14, all single-spaced, printed in Comic Sans. She cleared her throat and began. Your Honor, members of the HOA board, and unfortunate residents forced to endure the tyrannical aesthetic violations of this community. I knew then this wasn't going to be short. She spent the next 10 minutes listing every alleged offense: a neighbor's Halloween fog machine that triggered respiratory distress, a garden gnome she believed was satanic, and, of course, my mailbox, which she described as a passive-aggressive shrine to individualism in a communal living environment. Someone behind me laughed. The judge asked for silence. Karen continued. Undeterred, she brought out photos, pixelated, grainy images printed on standard paper. She waved one dramatically. This, she said, holding up a photo of my mailbox lit up at night, is psychological warfare. Imagine returning from a long day only to be greeted by this invasive glowing phallic display. Objection, the HOA's attorney said, raising a hand. The judge sighed. Sustained. Miss Karen, please refrain from that kind of language. Karen held up another photo, and this one, taken on Flag Day. An unsolicited display of nationalism shoved down the throats of our diverse community. You mean the American flag? The judge asked. Karen didn't answer. She continued reading. Her voice rose with every paragraph. By the 7th page, she was out of breath. By the 10th, she was crying. The judge told her to take a moment. She refused. I have trained myself legally, she snapped. I watched over 40 hours of civil trial videos. I follow at Trial Queen 88 on TikTok. I know what I'm doing. At this point, even the HOA lawyer, a quiet, middle-aged man named Mr. Dyson, stopped objecting. She was destroying her own case better than anyone else could. She introduced Exhibit D, a printed-out conversation from the Nextdoor app where she argued with someone about bird feeders. Your Honor, she said, slamming the printout on the desk, this shows clear harassment. He told me, quote, get a life. That's verbal assault in digital form. That's not a legal term, the judge muttered. Then came her final point. Her grand finale. She pointed directly at me. This man has installed subliminal messaging into his mailbox vines. The courtroom gasped. Or maybe they were stifling laughter, Karen continued. He has crafted the vines into spirals. Spirals that draw the eye and trap the subconscious. It's a form of manipulation, psychological coercion. I looked it up on a Reddit thread for symbolic architecture. This is no coincidence. I raised my eyebrows. The vines were plastic. Karen, the judge said slowly, do you have any certified evidence that supports this? Mailbox hypnosis. Theory. Karen pulled a crystal out of her bag. This quartz vibrated violently when I held it near his property. She said with absolute conviction. That was the moment the court reporter coughed to hide a laugh. The judge leaned forward. Miss Karen, you are making a mockery of this courtroom. I am defending my sanity. Then I strongly recommend you hire legal counsel. Karen slammed her palms on the table. This is why I didn't bring a lawyer, because the legal system is part of the HOA industrial complex. The judge rubbed his temples. Do you have anything else before I throw this case out? Karen froze. Then she whispered, just one more thing. She walked to the front of the courtroom, pulled out a Bluetooth speaker from her bag, and played a recording that it was her own voice narrating a dream she had. Something about flamingos coming to life and attacking her during a full moon HOA meeting. That concludes my evidence, she said, turning off the speaker. The judge slammed the gavel. Case dismissed. Immediately, Karen stood there in shock. No retrial, she asked. Absolutely not, the judge said. And frankly, I suggest you speak with someone who can help you. Professionally, Karen's jaw clenched. She grabbed her folders and stomped out of the courtroom, shouting, "This isn't over." And for a moment, we believed her. If you've ever dealt with someone like this in your neighborhood, drop a comment below. I want to hear your wild HOA stories. And hit subscribe, because trust me, this saga is far from over. 2 weeks later, she filed again. Same courthouse, same judge, only this time, she had a slideshow, a glitter binder, and zero evidence. 2 weeks later, I was back in the exact same courtroom, in the exact same uncomfortable wooden seat, wondering how I'd let myself get roped into this sequel. Karen had officially filed for a retrial. Same allegations, same people, same absurdity, but this time, she claimed she had new evidence. She even requested to use the court's projector, which immediately worried everyone. The judge, poor man, same as last time, looked visibly older. Maybe it was the lighting. Maybe it was the trauma. Karen strutted in like she was giving a TED Talk. This time, her outfit was even bolder. Red blazer, black turtleneck, heels clicking with courtroom echo. Her bag overflowed with manila folders, a glitter-covered binder, and something that looked like a mood board. She walked straight to the front and slammed her binder onto the table. Your Honor, she began, after my unjust dismissal 2 weeks ago, I embarked on a journey of deeper research. And what I discovered was systemic. The judge glanced at the HOA attorney, Mr. Dyson, who looked as amused as a man can legally allow himself to be. I don't think he'd prepared anything new for this round. He brought the same folder from last time. Probably hadn't even opened it. Karen motioned to the projector. Permission to present my slideshow. The judge gave a non-committal wave, the way someone might nod at a raccoon, hoping it would just go away if acknowledged. The lights dimmed. Karen clicked her Bluetooth remote. Slide 1, a badly cropped Google Street View image of my house, with red arrows pointing at my mailbox. Slide 2, a grainy zoom-in of the vines with the caption "Mind Coils." Slide 3, a screenshot of a Wikipedia page on hypnosis. Here, Karen announced, we see the scientific proof of spiral-based manipulation. These spirals were not chosen randomly. They are designed, curated, to influence the subconscious. She turned to face us all, eyes shining with courtroom righteousness. This is why I experience migraines every time I walk past lot 14. My body is rejecting the manipulation. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Karen, were you planning to submit any certified documentation this time? Karen clicked to the next slide, a screenshot from a Facebook group titled Sensitive Souls Against Subliminal Symbols. Community support, she said. Evidence of shared suffering. Those aren't official documents, the judge said. Those are real people, Karen snapped, and their testimonials matter. Just because they're in all caps and typed from mobile doesn't mean they're not valid. She proceeded to the next slide. This one was a meme. A dog wearing sunglasses with the text HOA stands for haters of aesthetics. Even the court clerk laughed at that one. Karen didn't appreciate it. As you can see, she said sternly, the internet knows the truth. The judge rubbed his forehead and muttered something about early retirement. Then came her piece. Resistance. She opened the glitter binder and removed a laminated poster board. Yes, laminated with a diagram of the neighborhood. Every house was marked with colored stickers. These red dots, she said, pointing with a glitter pen, represent emotionally damaging mailboxes. These yellow dots, mine included, are neutral. Blue dots represent past landscaping. She paused for dramatic effect. As you can see, I am surrounded. There was a long silence in the room. Then Karen added, this proximity to aesthetic chaos is what I call perimeter trauma. I nearly choked on my coffee. Mr. Dyson stood, calmly, patiently. Your Honor, I have no objections at this time. I just wanted on record that the HOA has, on multiple occasions, offered to speak with Ms. Karen about her concerns. She has declined every attempt at mediation, and her previous case was dismissed for lack of legal standing. Karen scoffed, you can't mediate with tyrants. The judge looked at her. Do you have any new witnesses? Karen smiled. Yes, myself. You testified last time. Karen pulled out a sheet of paper. Then allow me to submit a sworn, the statement written from the perspective of my future self, who's already won this case. The judge blinked. You what? Karen read aloud. I, future Karen, victorious and healed, am grateful to the justice system for restoring harmony to my neighborhood. The judge banged the gavel. Stop, now. Karen's face twisted in outrage. Why? Because you're afraid of change. No, he said, because this is not a science fiction hearing. This is a courtroom. Karen turned to the gallery. This judge is part of the HOA deep state. That's when the bailiff stood up. Karen backed away from the projector. I have one more thing. Just one more thing. The judge sighed. Make it quick. Karen opened a pink shoebox and pulled out, I swear to God, a vision board, magazine cutouts, inspirational quotes, and in the center, a picture of a mailbox with a giant red X over it. This, she said solemnly, is my emotional evidence. I wake up to this image every morning as a reminder of what I've endured. She held it aloft, like the Constitution. The judge gave her a long, hard stare. Then he said the words we were all waiting for. Motion denied. Again, Karen's mouth dropped open. I presented new evidence. No, you presented Pinterest. The judge replied. I want to appeal. You're not entitled to an appeal when your only exhibit is a slideshow and a shoebox. Karen stood there, frozen, trembling. Then she shouted, You're all in on this, and ran out of the courtroom with her binder flapping like a bird. In distress, the judge turned to Mr. Dyson. Do you want damages? Dyson shook his head. No, Your Honor, we'll settle for peace and quiet. The judge gave a nod. Godspeed. And that should have been the end. But then the emails started. Karen to the neighborhood listserv. Karen to the HOA board. Karen to the county office. Accusations, official documentation, screen-recorded videos where she stared into the camera and explained psychoaesthetic warfare. Then came the visit from the local news. And once Karen went viral, she had all the attention she ever wanted and a whole new plan. The news crew arrived on a Thursday. I was mowing my lawn when I saw the van. Channel 7 local focus printed on the side. Pull up in front of Karen's house. The cameraman stepped out first, followed by a young reporter holding a clipboard and looking mildly confused, the way you do when you think you're covering a zoning ordinance and realize you've just walked into a soap opera. Karen met them at the curb like she was walking a red carpet. She was dressed in head-to-toe pastel yellow, blazer, skirt, even shoes, and she carried that same glitter binder like it held the answers to the universe. She led them inside her house, and within 15 minutes, a camera was filming. In her living room. From my front porch, I could hear her shouting words like targeted harassment, symbolic oppression, and freedom of aesthetic. The next day, the segment aired. 5 minutes of edited absurdity on the local news. Karen sobbing dramatically in front of her mailbox. Karen gesturing to her backyard where nothing appeared to be happening. Karen holding up her vision board and declaring, this is what they want to destroy. They even played a clip of her from the courtroom, the one where she accused me of hypnotizing neighbors with my vines. Of course, they added dramatic music and slow motion. It made her look unhinged. And the internet loved it. Within hours, someone uploaded the clip to YouTube. Karen versus the HOA. She tried to sue her mailbox. It hit 300,000 views by sunset. By morning, a remix video appeared auto-tuned and edited with Vine sound effects. It hit 1 million. People in the neighborhood began laughing when they saw her. Someone printed stickers with her face and the phrase, perimeter trauma is real. Teenagers started leaving tiny plastic flamingos in her yard at night. I'm pretty sure it was Kyle and Liam from down the block. Karen was livid. She started writing long posts on Nextdoor about being a targeted whistleblower and victim of localized aesthetic warfare. She referred to herself as the HOA truth seeker. She threatened to sue the news station. She threatened to sue the remix guy. But the more she yelled, the funnier it got. Until it wasn't. Because after her second courtroom failure and local infamy, Karen stopped yelling. She started organizing. A few days after the video went viral, she began leaving flyers in mailboxes, actual printed flyers, with a logo, a flamingo inside, a red circle with a line through it. The headline read, Take Back Our Neighborhood, and underneath it, Join me in establishing the Willow Pines Freedom Council. No more flamingos, no more vines, no more psychological traps. Just purity, order, and peace. She scheduled a town hall meeting at her house for the following Sunday. We laughed, but 14 people showed up. Some were her regular friends, like Margaret, who once reported my Halloween fog machine as climate aggression. But some were just curious neighbors, the kind who love drama more than HOA regulations. A few were people I didn't recognize at all, possibly drawn in by the viral videos. Karen stood at the front of her living room like she was running for office. There was a whiteboard with bullet points. She had handouts. She had petitions. She was prepared. And then she made her big announcement. She was going to run for HOA president. That's when things stopped being funny, because as much as we all rolled our eyes at Karen, the truth was, the HOA elections had never been taken seriously. People didn't show up. They didn't vote. It was always the same 3 retirees who volunteered and nobody else. But now, Karen had a platform, a viral video platform, and she had support. People who loved sticking it to the system. People who hated HOA fees. People who just wanted to be part of something, even if that something was wildly unhinged. I watched it happen in real time. Karen posting campaign signs in her front yard, then in Margaret's yard, then in 5 more. By the end of the week, vote Karen. Make Willow Pines beautiful again. Her signs were pink with sparkles. They were everywhere. She launched a Facebook page, a TikTok account. She even made a video using slow motion footage of herself walking through the neighborhood, with inspirational music playing in the background, and captions like, "I fought the H, now I fight for you." And the views just kept coming. Some people joined her because they believed her. Others just wanted to be part of the circus. A few were bored retirees who didn't like the current HOA board's decision to ban oversized holiday inflatables. It was chaos. Our quiet little suburb was turning into a battleground. Petty complaints flooded the HOA inbox. Neighbors started picking sides. Lawn signs disappeared in the middle of the night. One guy installed a laser-powered light show just to provoke her. Karen posted a 10-minute video response titled "Lawn Terrorism in Willow Pines," and that's when she made her next move. A cease and desist letter, delivered to me, handwritten, signed Acting President Karen-elect. It said I had 24 hours to remove the mailbox or face spiritual consequences and possible civil litigation. She underlined spiritual consequences twice. I laughed at first, then I looked around and realized this woman might actually win, so I decided to fight back. Not with flyers, not with threats, with something she didn't expect: evidence. Because if Karen wanted to run on truth and order, then I was going to show everyone exactly what her truth looked like behind the TikToks and flyers and fake tears. And I had the receipts. It started with a folder, a real one, no glitter, no stickers, just black vinyl with labeled tabs and neat dividers. I called it Operation Karen, because if she was going to weaponize theatrics and paranoia, I was going to fight back with the one thing she couldn't manipulate: the truth. Inside that folder, I gathered everything. Printouts from next-door threads going back 2 years, where Karen accused the local mail carrier of smirking in her direction. Screenshots of her complaints to the HOA board. One for a garden wind chime she said was summoning negative energy. Another for a neighbor's Halloween skeleton because its posture was disrespectful. I had timestamps, emails, even blurry phone videos of her yelling at kids for riding scooters on the sidewalk. But my ace in the hole, a doorbell camera compilation that came from Mrs. Lang, a 78-year-old widow who lived 3 doors down. She didn't say much, kept to herself. But one afternoon, I stopped by to ask if she'd had any issues with Karen, and her eyes lit up like Christmas. "Oh, honey," she said. "She's a walking performance piece. Come in." We spent the next hour reviewing footage, Karen stomping up to Mrs. Lang's door at 7 a.m. to complain about a wreath. Karen placing a folded note on her welcome mat reading, "Your hedges have a masculine energy." Karen yelling at squirrels. Yes, yelling at squirrels. Mrs. Lang copied everything. 2. A USB. "Do with it what you will," she said. "I'm too old to care about the fallout." That night, I compiled it all into a presentation, 10 minutes long, no commentary, no edits. Just Karen, raw, unfiltered, and totally herself. Then I booked time at the next HOA meeting. It was standing room only. People brought lawn chairs. Someone even wheeled in a cooler. Karen arrived in her campaign sash, literally, a sash, and sat in the front row with Margaret and 2 guys who looked like backup singers in a 90s boy band. She had a stack of clipboards and a Karen 2024 button pinned to her lapel. Current HOA president, Mr. Billings, stood at the podium and welcomed everyone. "Tonight," he said, "we have a resident presentation. Mr. Nate Collins, you have the floor." I walked up with my folder, laptop, and a clicker. "Good evening," I said, trying not to smirk. "I'd like to present a small compilation. Something I've titled A Day in the Life of Karen." Karen crossed her arms. The room darkened. The video began. For the first 2 minutes, it was funny. People laughed. Karen yelling about gnomes. Karen talking to a bush. Karen whispering, "I know what you're doing at a Halloween skeleton." Then the mood shifted. Because it wasn't just funny, it was disturbing. Clips of her accusing a neighbor of planting spy tulips. Her screaming at a teenage girl for wearing crop tops in a family-friendly zone. Her threatening to call animal control on a golden retriever for smiling too much. People gasped. Karen stood up. "This is harassment," she shouted. I raised a finger. "Public property. Public interactions. All recorded legally." Mr. Billings nodded from the back. "Continue, Mr. Collins." The final clip was Karen walking up to a toddler's lemonade stand and saying, "This isn't regulated. Where's your permit?" Silence. When the lights came back on, Karen was fuming. "You think this is funny?" she hissed. "You think exposing my personal battles makes you a hero?" "No," I said calmly. "I think people deserve to see the full version of who they're voting for. There was a pause, a long one. Then someone in the back clapped. Then, another. Then the entire room. Karen screamed. This is a setup. This is character assassination. Mr. Billings walked up beside me and said, "You've made your point, Mr. Collins, thank you." Karen stormed out. The next day, she posted a video titled "How to Survive Targeted Psychological Warfare by Your Neighbors." It got 800 views, no remix, no autotune, just Karen, pacing her living room, holding her binder like a Bible, and ranting about narrative control. Her momentum cracked, signs disappeared. Supporters stopped reposting her videos. People unsubscribed from her Facebook group. And on election day, Karen lost by a landslide. She didn't even place second. She demanded a recount. Claimed voter suppression. Said the ballot paper smelled like deceit. No one responded. I thought that would be the end. But a week later, I came home to find my mailbox open. Nothing stolen, nothing damaged. Just one thing inside. A single sheet of paper with bold black letters, "We're not done," and taped to the back. A tiny plastic flamingo. I stared at that little pink flamingo for a long time. It sat in my palm, light as nothing, cheerful in its absurdity, the kind of thing you'd stick in a potted plant or a child's birthday cake. But in that moment, it felt heavier than a brick. Karen wasn't done. Even after losing the trial, the retrial, the HOA election, even after being laughed at by a courtroom, publicly shamed by a slideshow, and turned into a meme, she still wasn't done. And for a few weeks it looked like she really had disappeared. Her videos stopped. Her flamingo band flyers vanished. The Karen 2024 signs were finally taken down. Some were even burned ceremoniously in backyard fire pits, which probably violated 6 different HOA bylaws, but no one was reporting anyone anymore. Peace had returned to Willow Pines. But then came the mail. First, my house, then to Margaret's, then to the entire HOA board. All anonymous, all printed from the same cheap home printer. Smudged ink in all caps font, accusations, letters titled, things like, "The HOA has been compromised. The vines are still watching," and proof that the mailbox is a symbol of cultural collapse. One neighbor got a letter that simply said, "Unacceptable." That's when I realized she had gone underground. No more rallies, no more speeches, just paper, flyers, whisper campaigns. I saw her a few times walking through the neighborhood early mornings, hoodie on, binder under her arm, like always, slipping papers into mailboxes, tucking notes into door handles. Once, I caught her at the edge of my lawn, staring at my mailbox like it had insulted her family. I stepped outside. She didn't move. "You lost, Karen," I said. She smiled. "That's what they want you to think." And then she walked away. By then, the neighborhood was done engaging. Most people ignored her. Some laughed. Others just rolled their eyes. But I couldn't let it go, because as absurd as she was persistent, dangerous in the way a storm drain is, slow, quiet, capable of flooding everything if left unchecked. So I made a decision. I ran for HOA president the following year. No slogans, no signs, just one line in my campaign letter. "Let's keep Willow Pines peaceful and weird flamingo." I won by 93%. At the next board meeting, I passed a motion to install a neighborhood mediation process, actual conflict resolution, real policy clarifications, and monthly transparency meetings. I made sure every resident had access to the rules, not just the power-hungry ones. And for a while, things were good, until last week, when a new couple moved in at the edge of the block. Nice people, smiled a lot, said they were excited to be part of a community with values. They asked me about Karen. I told them she'd quieted down. More or less. That's when they laughed and said, "Oh yeah, she recommended the neighborhood to us. Said you guys needed fresh eyes." I froze. Wait, Karen recommended Willow Pines? Yep, they said. She said she's not allowed to live here anymore, but she's definitely still involved in the movement. Movement? They didn't elaborate, but later that night, as I walked to the curb to bring in my trash bin, I noticed something sticking out of my mailbox. It wasn't a letter, it wasn't a flyer, it was a pink envelope. Glitter on the corners. Inside, a folded photo of my house, taken from a distance. On the back, scribbled in marker, "Phase 2 begins soon." So now I'm wondering, what exactly is Phase 2? And how do you stop someone who truly believes they're the hero in a war no one else can see? If you've ever had to face a Karen in your life, one that just won't quit, tell me in the comments. And hit subscribe, because if this flamingo-fueled nightmare continues, you're not going to want to miss what happens next.